What is going on, everyone? It is Tyler McKinney back here, and I'm giving you my instant reactions to the second game of the USFL season. Because of the bad weather, the rain delay that they had for the Gamblers and the Panthers game, we have a little bit of time before we get into the second game of the day on Sunday. So I figure, what the heck, I'll go ahead and put my instant reactions for this game out there as well as what I did last night. And this one, not as good. It was a back and forth game. It was pretty much a blowout the first half, but the Panthers, if you stuck with the game, they inched themselves back into the game, and for a single penalty and 1 foot being out of bounds, we're that close to winning the game. And that's what you want. You want to keep people there invested and interested in it, but it was rough. How rough? 9 fumbles. I'm not making any mistakes here. 9 fumbles. Shea Patterson had 4 just by himself. Now, they only lost 2 of those, thankfully for them. But they had 3, whenever you give up 3 turnovers in a game, and one of them, turns into a 90-some touchdown fumble return, that's just what happens. And so that was kind of the story of this game. It was slow. There wasn't the excitement around it as the other games. Both teams fell all over themselves for the first quarter. It was wet. They weren't in sync. You could definitely tell that these teams probably weren't as set and ready as the 2 teams were last night. And the excitement wasn't there. There were no fans in the stands. So there were some people in the stands, but it was literally a empty stadium, which stunk. It did help with the broadcasting, though. This one was solely on NBC, and from the broadcasting standpoint, I thought that they did a fantastic job. I really like Collingsworth and Jason Garrett working together. It's kind of funny. When you listen to him, he sounds exactly like his dad, to where I've got his dad pictured in my head, and then when they cut to it, it's him and Jason Garrett there. But it's cool. They work really well together. They both know their spots. They both know what they're doing, and they interact really well. I was pretty impressed with it. This one without the crowd noise, and it was a little bit better to digest all of the people talking and all of that audio. And I think had there been fans there, I think that would have definitely been a different type of a feel. But, this game was a different feel altogether. How do you... It's just spring football. Spring football has this weirdness about it, and having a lightning rain delay makes sense. But then again, it is the spring. We're in rainy season, right? And that with it. So, that's kind of what happened with that. But if you stuck with the game after the first half, 17-0 going into half, and, you thought that this was pretty much going to be the Gamblers game, and it really had nothing to do with the Gamblers figuring things out. Thompson was really the one bright spot on offense, and their defense was just firing on all cylinders and taking advantage of, all of the mishaps of the Panthers. Not only did the Panthers have mishaps, but every time the ball bounced, it didn't bounce in their direction. So they would do something, and then it would just expound upon that. Like you're getting ready to score, and your quarterback falls down, gets back up, the ball gets knocked out of his hand, and it gets run down 90 yards for a touchdown. So you've got right there a 14-point swing just like that. And it was kind of interesting in this game. They didn't go for both of the teams went for 2. Neither one of them, lined up to kick an extra point. So I'm wondering if maybe they didn't feel comfortable in the kicking situation, or they just figured, the odds of us getting it are good. We're just going to go with it. I thought it was cool. I liked it. I feel pretty good about it. You could definitely tell that these 2 teams were not as polished, and the weather just kind of took that and expounded upon that. And it's interesting, both teams where, they brought in their backup quarterbacks for a little bit. Lynch got to play a little bit more than Bahar, and I apologize for pronouncing names, but he came in for the last series that they had, and it looked like that they were just really trying to kill clock, really try to get the clock down. Once Lynch threw that interception, Lynch was done for the day, and it makes sense too. Shea Patterson is their quarterback. He's the better of the two guys out there on the field. They really need to create more opportunities for Shea Patterson to get into open space. He does a lot better on. This is weird. He does a lot better running around and throwing the ball on the run than he does necessarily in the pocket. But I think that's a tribute to both of these teams being well coached on defense and very good defensive teams. I liked it. When you're looking at the quarterbacks, Shea Patterson, pretty good day, 17 for 25, 68% on his passer completion, 192 yards and one touchdown for a QBR of 145. So that's not a bad day. He missed some throws, and there were sometimes it was just behind the guy and just too hard of a throw. And part of it is they're trying to run some. Both teams really they're. Even last night with the Stallions, you're trying to run some RPO and trying to make some quick decisions, and they're just not up to speed yet. And you can kind of tell to where balls are kind of behind guys, balls are late, and we're seeing that. And Patterson had some of that stuff and was making up for some of it with his arm, which was making it hard for guys to catch it. But Scott was a bright spot. I really did like the way that Scott ran. He ran hard. Scarlett ran hard too. I think that they've got a nice two-headed monster going on there. I think though, Scott is just super fluid. And I really like the way that he could, bounce it to the outside and get out there. I thought that was pretty good. Lenore, man, wow, what a good receiver. And you can tell why he's not in the NFL. He just drops too many passes. I think he had, I think at least 2, possibly 3 drops in this game. If he can clean that stuff up, this guy's going to be a stud in this league and going to do a lot of good things. He is a dynamic player. Speaking of dynamic Walker, he was where they needed him, made some good catches when they needed him, and you could see why Shea Patterson wanted him on this team. I thought that, overall for just how sloppy and terrible of a game it was. Stats wise, you had some guys, looking all right with it. Going over to the gambler side of things as I'm looking at it. Thorson, not so great of a day. He was 9 for 17. He had a 52% completion percentage for 73 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. His QBR was 96, which is it reads a lot higher than what it was. He didn't look good. And we'll see what happens with it next week. Like I said, Thompson was a really, really nice, good addition for them. Dawkins, I think that they need to limit the carries there. They need to go to Thompson. Thompson is a guy who is a threat with the ball. I really like the way that he runs it. They really need to find some type of a way to complement the run, though, with him. I thought that was all right. You didn't get much passing, so, Ward had 7 receptions, but it was for 48 yards. And when, you're averaging under 7 yards a reception, that's not good for your wide receivers as a whole. You would want to see more than that. But craziness on the defensive side of things for the Gamblers. Payne. Almost 20, 19 tackles, 13 solo tackles. That is a ridiculous amount of tackles. And Northrup who had the fumble recover for the touchdown, had 11. Gooden had 9. I mean, the guys were just flying around the ball, and you could tell they were really giving him havoc in that way. It was just pretty cool. to see. Hats off to that defense. If they can figure out some things on offense and really find, their passing game to complement Thompson, I think you're going to see Thompson, up around 100 yards. I would get him to the 20 carries mark a game. I would get Dawkins about 5, and then, really try to figure out if you can figure something out with one of the two quarterbacks to really, start to do that, because their defense and the Panthers losing the game is really what happened here. Looking at the matchups between these two teams here. So Gamblers had 11 drives, the Panthers had 12 drives. Total plays, the Panthers ran 79 to 45. Like I said, it really was the Panthers that lost it. They had 363 yards to 174 for the Gamblers. Let's see here. With it, the passing yards is kind of where it was, only 74 for the Gamblers, 173 for the Panthers. I mean, when you really look at this down the whole line, you would have thought that the Panthers would have won this game. And actually, with as many yards as they had, you would have thought that they would have, had more points than they did. They just couldn't figure it out. And that terrible first half is what did them in. They started to figure things out at the end of the game, but it was too late. And of course, you know what they say, you win the turnover battle, normally you win the game, and that's the case here. 3 total for the Panthers in turnovers and only 1 for the Gamblers, and that would have been the difference, which made it 17-12, which was an under. So those of you who picked the under and went with the Gamblers, good for you. For me, not so much. You got this guy has now I went from 2-0 to 2-2. But that's what happens in these type of things in these type of games. Hopefully the Breakers game here that we got coming up will be better than that. But those are my initial thoughts and reactions. Not a great game here. I would, because of being close game at the end, I'd give it a C-. Yeah, not good. As always, let me know what you think down in the comment section, and we'll continue the conversation on down there. All right, listen, I know that you're busy, and I know that I'm busy, so let's get on out of here. You have a good night. Bye.